something that's actually happening at the Ottawa Marriott starting tomorrow is a conference for rare diseases. Joining us is the president for Canadian Organization for Rare Disorders, Dirhan Wong-Rieger. Great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you very much.
So just in talking to you, fascinating the type of information and what's being done. So what is this conference that starts tomorrow all about?
Really, it is to have people understand what is a rare disorder, raise awareness around the new therapies that are being developed, also to stimulate interest in terms of research and development. I mean, a rare disorder, for, in case people don't know, is a disease that affects very small patient populations. So technically fewer than 1 in 2,000 people, but some of these diseases are so rare they'll affect fewer than 1 in a million people. And in Canada, that might mean there's only about 20, 30 people in all of Canada that may have this disorder.
What I was surprised about is the type of disorders that we have that are actually, that we recognize, but then don't realize that
they are really very rare.
That they are rare.
It's like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, ALS. All of these actually only affect a very small number of people. And the challenge is that because they affect so few people, they're often misdiagnosed, so people think there's something more common. Cystic fibrosis may look like lung diseases. So some of these diseases don't get diagnosed, which means people don't get the kind of early intervention. The other problem is, though, is that because they're so small, we don't do treatments for them. We don't develop the treatments for them. So in many cases, I mean, there's more than 7,000 rare disorders in the world. Probably only about 400 of them actually have treatments. So this is really important.
Is it that we just don't have, there's just not the research, or is it almost saying our efforts need to be spent somewhere else because, you know what, this could affect maybe 1 or 2 other people? And where do you put the, what is the value on each of those lives?
And that's the challenge. You know, when you just talked about cancer, cancer affects everybody. Everybody knows. Diabetes, you know, affects more than, you know, 1 million Canadians. So it's very easy to put your monies in there. These are small disease populations, so it is very challenging, and sometimes just even understanding what causes the diseases. So, I mean, in Canada, the reason this conference is so important, it is the very first time that Canada has really come into supporting the research and development, and hopefully what we want is an orphan drug policy to bring drugs into Canada. I mean, I said there are, you know, close to about 400 drugs for rare diseases. Only about half of them come to Canada because we don't have an active policy that supports these drugs. So this is the first time now that we've seen research and development in Canada. We're seeing real efforts to kind of bring treatments in for people who otherwise don't have any other opportunities.
How much has become the responsibility of the patient when they realize the process of elimination, of trying to figure out exactly what's wrong with them, is starting to make a difference, or it's working with their doctors?
Well, as you can imagine, you know, with social media, the Facebook, the internet, this has become hugely important because people can go online, they can put in their symptoms, and they can identify other people that actually have diseases that are similar to theirs. They actually develop some real understanding of it, and sometimes take that information into their physicians. We're also now signing up to a new international website called OrphanNet, where you can actually put in symptoms, and it begins to start to guess for you what disease that might be. And it's really a very technical website, so a physician can do a much better job of it, and really help to begin to identify sometimes diseases, as I said, that may affect fewer than, say, 1,000 people in the whole world, and there may be only 10 cases in Canada. We've had people been identified through these kinds of, and it's amazing, because sometimes there are even treatments available.
And as soon as someone hears that there's treatment, that there's a possibility of a diagnosis, that changes just the complete, you know, the mental onset too of saying, I can figure something out. People are welcome to come to the conference.
We would love to have people come. It's a 2-day conference. Some of it will be about the new research that's going to be taking place. So $18 million in research grants the Canadian government's offering in terms of new research, but also some of the new therapies that are coming online, yes.
Keep in mind, it's happening from 8:30 until 3 o'clock. It starts tomorrow, Ottawa tomorrow and Thursday at the Ottawa Marriott Hotel. It was a pleasure to meet you. Best of luck with everything in the research and the new $18 million that's coming, and that's a huge change. We have to take a commercial break. We're going to be back with your top news headlines. Of course, jury selection almost complete for the Eric Chapnick murder trial, and so we'll have the details on that coming your way after this.